in the India-US trade deal. His comments coming after he announced a 10% global tariff post the US Supreme Court deeming his reciprocal tariffs as illegal. Now, Trump has said that India will continue to pay the tariff that have been decided between the two countries and that US will not pay any tariff. Listen in to what he said.
My relationship with India is fantastic. And we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. You know, India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pulled way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month. And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped a war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes we shot down. That war was going and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. That's and I did it largely with tariffs. I said, look, you're going to fight, that's fine, but you're not going to do business with the United States, and you're going to pay a 200% tariff, each country. And they called up and they said, we have made peace. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually. But he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
So, Srinjoy, what does it mean from the India perspective? Because Donald Trump has clearly said that India will have to pay the tariff that has been decided between both the countries. But now the bigger question is that not illegal?
First of all, there is a free trade agreement. Now, can you have this? These are questions that will come up. Can you have an additional tariff on a country with which you have an FTA? That's the first question. Secondly, again, we don't know about the tariff. The earlier tariffs were struck down by the US Supreme Court. What will happen to this tariff? So this raises a lot of questions. Of course, the president has spoken about ending the war by threatening 200% tariffs, and 10 planes had been shot down, and there was going to be a nuclear war and 35 million people were going to die. He said all of that before many times, many times. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. On the one hand, you have the Pax Silica, which is a great step forward for India and America. On the other hand, you have these old statements that are coming back about 35 million people dying because of a nuclear war, and the fact that 10 planes were shot down and all of this. So there needs to be much more clarity on this. Both sides will have to say very clearly, well, the number one, is the FTA between India and America in place? If that is so, well done. Secondly, will this additional tariff of 10% apply to India? Once again, this is something India wants clarity on. So these two issues must be worked out and placed before the people of both countries as soon as possible.
Absolutely, because Donald Trump has said that India will have to pay the tariff that has been decided between both the countries. But what about the 10% tariff that he has imposed globally? Will that also imply on India as well? Stay on with us, Srinjoy. I'm also joined by Patikrit Pan, geopolitical expert. Thank you so much for connecting with us. How do you look at this decision by the Supreme Court and then 10% tariff that has been imposed by Donald Trump through India perspective?
See, the Supreme Court verdict in the United States is primarily on the use of international emergency economic powers by the President of the United States to impose tariffs without taking the congressional approval. What Supreme Court of the United States is saying is this: if you want to impose tariffs individually on countries on varying rates, you have to take approval from the Congress, U.S. Congress. I think the President of the United States wants to continue with his discretionary powers And so what now is happening is that he has imposed this additional 10% tariff on Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. So I think this face-off between Supreme Court and the U.S. President is going to continue. So far as the trade agreements are concerned, absolute lack of clarity is what I can say right now. Nobody knows what is going to happen, because if these tariffs have been defined as, illegal, then we don't know how it would be structured. Secondly, the tariffs that he is imposing for with the additional 10% can only be there for 150 days. So 150 days later, he would again have to announce it. The validity is only up till 15% and for 150 days. So there is no continuity for any country to do business with the United States or any other country. Sanctity of contracts and continuity of the agreement is very important. Otherwise, it creates a lot of problems. So for the United States, the President of the United States, he has been making statements across about all the countries possible. But in-house, it appears that there are challenges. So far as the refund issue is concerned, tariffs are not, that money is not collected from other countries. That is the money that the U.S. consumer is paying to the government of the United States. So there are litigations that are going to come up for at least $175 billion of payout refund, which United States government, if this verdict holds ground, will have to pay to the consumers of U.S. because ultimately it is the American consumer who pays the money.
Absolutely.
The trade deal itself, it appears the United Kingdom trade deal, the European Union trade deal, the Australian trade deal with India, the continuity of the contract appears to be far more smooth than what it is with United States free trade agreement. So the agreement which is about to get operational in the month of April, if the confusions continue, then we don't know what is going to happen.
All right, so it remains to be seen how this pans out in the coming days. But for now, Donald Trump has said that there will be 10% additional tariff globally is the response that is coming from him. Thank you so much, Mr. Patikrit, for connecting with us and bringing your perspective on this. We have another breaking update coming in as far as